So what is True Yoga? An enlightening and revealing series about how yoga should be practiced. A macroscopic view of how yoga has changed over the years, how this has changed the direction of yoga. Our sincere attempt to redirect it towards the correct course and bring glory back to traditional ancient yoga. We have coined True Yoga to emphasize reality. Yogalaya presents Yoga Series number 1. We'll focus on defining True Yoga, discussing changes over the years, reinforce ancient links, discuss 6 asanas considered prime by ancient texts, provide guidance and learning under proper tutelage, reinforce the progress from asana, pranayam to dhyan. So what are we going to cover today under the banner of True Yoga and this presentation? We're going to start by talking about the heritage of yoga, history of Ashtanga Yoga, Yoga today, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, True Yoga, defining it, True Yoga, what guarantees it can provide and give people, the physiological facts and changes to the body due to practice of True Yoga, what is the essence of True Yoga, the 6 asanas in the series that we are going to conduct, and a brief summary. So the categories of yoga. Yoga has 4 types of categories. There is Jnana Yoga or Gyan Yoga as some refer to, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raj Yoga. The first 3 were always practiced diligently and even today it occurs. The common man practiced Raj Yoga. Man did not require preparation for developing his body for ultimate union in the 3 earlier yugas. Now when we talk about the 3 earlier yugas, we are talking about the Satya Yuga or the Krita Yuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dwapar Yuga, and today we are in Kali Yuga, so called. Now it is well understood and accepted that in the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga and Dwapar Yuga, the same human beings were much stronger, bigger, wiser, they were more sattvic, their bodies were more prepared. And yoga was part of their natural upgrade towards union. So yoga has essentially been a union and complete understanding of nature and the cosmos. This has always been the core of yoga. Now we'll talk about people and how things change. Let us look at humanity today, correspondingly tradition of yoga as well. Like people and personalities, when people live in riches, they have no idea how the other half live, in poverty, in tough situations, etc., etc. These are the people who have anything and everything and they don't know the value of money sometimes. Then on the other side, when we look at people living in utter poverty, even their imagination cannot take them to some of the things that the rich people can do. When we look at the Western world is lost in the fact that developing countries are dirty, they are overpopulated, they don't have water, they don't have electricity, they don't have discipline, how terrible, etc., etc. But they are never going to be able to understand the problems that the developing world has and how it can be overcome or how it should be overcome. Then we can talk about corruption, and we know in India and a lot of countries around the world, corruption is one of the common things happening. But when you grow up in a country where corruption is well accepted and nearly the norm, then you suddenly realize that without knowing it, you are helping people become corrupt, you are becoming corrupt yourself, you are using corruption in different forms and living within the system. And as part of that, our values and ideals change, our attitudes change. Now, since the start of Kali Yuga, the deterioration of character, attitudes, values, etc., has permitted our innate ability of a higher order, which is honesty, integrity, etc., to be lost. And thus we are vacillating with all these aspects of poverty in these areas. They say Kali Yuga started during that period, just before Mahabharata, dated around 7,500 years ago by Nileshok. Mahabharata is a great living example of all wrongdoings in most spheres of life. For example, in the Mahabharata, you had people doing wrong things in every area of life. Whether it was fighting, whether it was cheating, whether it was drinking, whether it was womanizing, whether it was harnessing empires, it continued on. Today we are reduced to poverty in thought, in attitudes, in body maintenance. Regarding breathing, I can make a definite statement to say most people breathe and use less than 10 to 15% of their lung capacity. Now, isn't that a very sad state of affairs, that when you've got a rich lung capacity and all you do is use 10% of it? Isn't that a state of poverty in a way? Similarly, immunity towards disease. It is a well-known fact that if one's immunity is stronger, that you are better able to ward off disease. But today we have forgotten that immunity is one of those important areas. We just think of disease as germs, viruses, bacteria, etc. and try to knock them off and expect health to become perfect. Poor self-awareness. We really do not know how stiff we are, how flexible we should be, how flexible we currently are, what is sustained stretch, etc. We have developed a sheep mentality. As a whole, the population just goes with the flow. They don't think for themselves. Which follows on to the next point, inability to think for ourselves. We have given that up. We are less proactive these days about anything. We love to copy others. And today, we appear to be worrying more about what we are doing today rather than the consequences of today's actions on tomorrow's outcomes. So what happened to yoga? Let's look at yoga per se. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga have managed to stay alive, although in much reduced circumstances. Their practice is much rarer. But progress can only happen if the attitude is right. So the self-correction mechanism is firmly in place. When we talk about Jnana Yoga and we refer to scientists and scholars and their personal experiences, we find that when you get into the depths of your science or your field, you start realizing that there is a hidden force, there is the Almighty, there is the hand of God, or there is some unknown factor which is causing a lot of stuff. Similarly, when we talk about Karma Yoga, we have got people like Mother Teresa who gave up their whole life doing certain things for certain causes, for a cause, but was not at all worried about her own self in any way, shape or form. Even when she was honored, she was more worried about how her people would benefit, the people she cared for. When we come to Bhakti Yoga, we have the Varkari Panth in India, who are followers of Vitthal, Jnaneshwar and Tukaram. And every year, lakhs of people walk their way for 10 to 12 days non-stop, all day, to get to their God. And they do it with so much bhakti that they are lost in it. Today we have Raj Yoga, and this had to be reviewed, adjusted and shaped as the core basic preparation of the body for yoga or union was failing miserably. This is because our bodies have become weak and useless and retarded and unfit. This automatically led to impurity in preparation, because if I can't prepare properly, I'm not going to have good outcomes, and thus, of course, poor outcomes. Let's take the example of current schooling. We go to school, we go to college, we go to university, we go in and apply for a job, and what do? They take us, they think about whether they should employ us or not, and when they do employ you, they send you on a 3 or 4 month course to understand what work you should be doing. Now, isn't that a sad reflection of the schooling system, where the same schooling system going back 25 years, people used to walk into a job and start their work the next day. So just as these people, companies have devised ways to have courses, similar this deficiency was noticed by the ancient rishis. So they decided to do something about it. So now let us look at history of yoga and the rehabilitation of yoga.